The alpha wolf told me she was just a surrogate, but she kept it from me for months, until I saw her standing in front of me visibly pregnant. Chapter 1. The breeder's irritable save was there, a kind of pain that steals your breath before it breaks you, and I felt it the moment my mate said, "And use this is Cecily, and she's carrying my child." The words hit like a fist to the gut. I stood frozen, the air thick in my lungs suffocating. His words swirled around me, and for a moment I couldn't move or breathe. My gaze locked on Evan, my mate, as his hand rested casually on Cecily's, slightly swollen belly like it was the most normal thing in the world. Pregnant with his child, he had found a breeder and hadn't even the decency to tell me first. It felt like my heart had shattered, jagged pieces stabbing into my ribs. Every inhale was a struggle, every exhale a reminder of how much he had just ripped from me. Betrayal, the word barely scratched the surface of what I felt. It was deeper, sharper, something that clawed at my insides and refused to let go. Evan stood there, all cold distance, his eyes avoiding mine. He stared past me, not even acknowledging the wreckage he was leaving in his wake. His stance was rigid, his face unreadable, like this was just a business transaction and not the destruction of everything we had built together. I didn't even know where Cecily had come from, didn't know how long this had been going on, but long enough for her to be showing, apparently, and now there she stood, her eyes round with innocence and her hands clasped in front of her like some sacrificial lamb. She looked like everything I wasn't: soft, demure, and perfect for the role she was about to play. His breeder, I could already feel the pack's whispers starting to swirl in the background. He needs someone who can provide an heir. I could already feel the sting of their judgment. I know this is difficult, Savander, but since you were unable to bear a child, it left me with no choice, Evan said, his voice flat, almost mechanical. For the pack, those 3 words sliced through me like broken glass, and that was what it took for me to snap out of the shop Mert house. What the hell, Evan? You decided to take a breeder without even talking to me first? You've been planning this long enough for her to be showing, and now you bring her here? I hated how shaky my voice sounded. I hated how small I felt, but I couldn't help it. My body trembled with a storm of emotions: betrayal, anger, disbelief, but none of it could get out. None of it could get out. None of it could make sense. All I had was the thick, painful lump in my throat. Evan finally looked at me. The elders have been pushing me to secure an heir. I didn't know how to tell you, but I found Cecily a while ago. She's perfect for the job, and now that she's carrying my child, I decided to bring her to the pack. His voice was so calm, like he was announcing a simple fact, not revealing the fact that he had been screwing another woman behind my back for months. She is only here to carry the heir, Savander, nothing more. I could barely contain the disgust that surged through me, but the real kicker was his casual dismissal of everything we had shared, as if all of it meant nothing now. Cecily took a step forward, her soft voice like honey dripping with innocence that sounded too fake. Apologize, Luna. I apologize, Luna. I didn't know you weren't aware of this arrangement. I never meant to cause any trouble. I didn't even bother to look at her. My gaze stayed fixed on Evan, the man I had sacrificed everything for, going as far as taking a hit meant for him during an attack, which was why I couldn't have a child. My voice was cold and sharp. You should have consulted me first. Evan, I am your mate. If you wanted to get a breeder, you should have told me, not bring her into our home. His gaze hardened, but I could see the tension in his jaw, the slight flicker of discomfort. He opened his mouth to speak, but I wasn't finished. Not ever, I said, my voice unwavering. The silence that followed was deafening. Evan's eyes bore into mine, his expression unreadable, but I knew he was making a decision. I could see it in the way his lips thinned, the way he glanced at Cecily, then back at me, knowing his next words would decide everything. You don't have to accept it, but you have a choice, he said finally, his voice firm with no trace of remorse.